What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today we're gonna be doing a tier list. It has been so long since I updated my tier list, and the patch has the meta has significantly changed, so it's time for a tier list to be updated again. Alright, so this tier list is gonna be regarding the Beatrice patch, right? But before we start, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for more updates about the tier list, the meta analysis and stuff like that regarding Mlbb and the MPL in Indo, Malaysia, Singapore, wherever it could be, PH. So yeah, I'll see you guys in a bit, and I'll explain more on the tier list in a second. Alright guys, so here we are with the tier list. This is going to be the Beatrice patch. So if you guys are wondering what patch this is, if you're watching from the future, if this is up to date or if it's outdated, then this is how you'll know if it's updated or not. Alright, so it's actually a Google slide, so if you guys want to check it out yourself and browse through the tier list, it's going to be on the link in the description below. Okay, so just click it and then you'll get to it. But yeah, let's move on to the introduction. So what this pretty much is explaining is this is based off solo queue, duo queue, or trio queue, and even 5-man experience in a mythical glory elo. And also I also put my own knowledge in there based on the results of our scrimmages. As you guys know, I'm coaching Sunspark, so we managed to scrim against other MPL PH teams and MPL Malaysian teams, and hopefully soon like MPL Indo teams and so on, like Myanmar and Singapore and other regions that we haven't scrimmed yet. So yeah, it's gonna be based off that for the tier list. Alright, for the next slide, it's actually gonna just explain the color coding, which is based on the color. It shows you, or it shows the people who are just beginning in the game which heroes to buy, so it's easier for them to adjust and transition by using that hero. So if the hero's name is green, that means that the difficulty of mastering the hero is easy. If the hero's name is yellow, then it's just a little bit harder to master, but it's just okay. And then if their names are on red, such as like Fanny, it's gonna be a very mechanical heavy hero. Fanny, Gushin, how else do you want to say it? Kagura, and etc. There's other heroes that are pretty hard to master. Alright, this is really helpful for newer players that are just starting Mlbb, because it shows them which heroes to buy, if it's easy or not to play, if it's easy to play or hard to play. Now moving on to the tier list, the highest tier is S tier, which is going to be the strongest heroes. These are like the ban-worthy heroes in MPL and tournaments. The A tier is going to be the meta heroes, which are the heroes that are usually not, some of them are banned, but they're usually not banned, and they get chosen in majority of the tournaments that are being played right now, even in amateur tournaments and MPL tournaments. For B, they rarely get chosen in tournaments, and for C, really rare, super rare. And then D, I literally erased D and made the tier list a little bit simpler, I would say, and more user-friendly. So let's move on to the first tier list that we're gonna see. There's actually 5 tier lists that we're gonna see. I changed the format. This used to be the marksman tier list, but now we're gonna call it a jungler tier list. Alright, because there's a designated jungler now in the game, and only one hero or one player in your team will be holding the retribution spell. So whoever is in the jungler tier list must hold the retribution spell. Do not expect Purify or Flicker. Alright, for S tier we have Claude, arguably one of the, if not the strongest late game hero in the game. Yi Shin, the vision that he gives, super strong. Benedetta, the mobility, the objective that she can get even after the nerf, still super strong. A lot of teams are using Benedetta as a core now instead of a side lane, because her ulti, the ulti cooldown is a lot longer. So considering that you're not going to be able to wave clear the minions in the side lane as much as possible, because the cooldown is a lot longer, then she's more fit as a core, I would say, because you're only going to be using your ulti to secure buffs, to secure Lord, to secure Turtle, to secure some other stuff, and to kill. Whereas side lane, for side lane Benedetta, you need to clear the wave consistently, especially when you're getting ganked by like 3 or 4 people from the opposite team. So that's why Benedetta is going to be S tier on the jungler tier list. Alright, she takes objectives super fast. But then again, if you don't snowball and get to late game, Benedetta falls off super hard. So yeah, that's the only thing you'll worry about. Brody's still pretty good, but you cannot do the Pillager Axe Beast Killer Brody anymore. You gotta do the Raptor Machete Nimbleblade Brody now, since he's gonna lack damage if you build Beast Killer with Brody. For Granger, he's starting to become popular again, so he's gonna be A tier. Bruno is very good, as you saw in my previous video. If you pair up Bruno with like Rafaela or like a Diggy, Estes, just to protect the core strategy, he's very strong. He takes objectives super fast, and he's not super weak early game, even though he's a marksman. Roger is kind of like a middle ground, I would say. Roger's a little bit tanky for a jungler, so that's really good. And plus, if he snowballs really hard early game, he's super good. His first skill really hurts, and he could take like 50% of the enemy's HP if he snowballs really hard, right, when he pounces. Beatrice is the newest addition in the game, and I would say that she's gonna be an A tier. I actually don't know how to say her name correctly. I don't know if it's Beatrice or Beatrix, but I'll just call her Beatrice. The shotgun, it's like she really reminds me of Graves Jungle, if you guys played League of Legends PC or even Wild Rift. And she wave clears really well. Alright, wave clears really well, especially with Marksman emblem. Hayabusa's pretty good, especially against heroes like Yi Shin or against any marksman, to be honest. He's really good. Against Farsa support, he's good, and so on. So Lancelot is still good, but Lancelot is more of like an early game hero, obviously. He needs to take objectives early game. If he fails getting objectives early game against like a Claude, for example, then you failed your job as a Lancelot jungler. You're not doing it correctly. You're supposed to be able to Retribution the turtle a lot easier with the second skill ulti Retribution combo. Harley takes objectives super fast, so Harley's going to be an A tier as well. Ling got nerfed, and I'm pretty sure Ling is going to get buffed a little bit again, along with Fanny in the next patch. So he's going to be an A tier. He's still good at it just really depends if if your support and tank can open up the jungle for you. If Ling can free farm, then Ling is actually still really good. If you saw teams like RPH likes using Ling, who else? I'm pretty sure Onyx likes playing Ling as well with Hate. Harith, jungler is still good. I would say Kari jungle is not being used in MPLPH, but we skirmed a couple of teams from MPL Malaysia that really likes doing Kari jungle, and it's actually it really hurts, especially if the enemy has a lot of high sustain like Esmeralda, Uranus, Alice. Kari can just melt through you. And also Kari's like a little bit tankier compared to the other junglers, especially if you build like Thunderbelt, Athena Shield, Bloodless Axe, and such items like that, right? Okay, moving on to B tier. Yeah, why is Baxia here, you would ask? Well, there are actually specific strats for Baxia jungle, and if you execute it really well, you could take almost any objective. Because even if the enemy tries to zone a Baxia just ultis, and he's so tanky that they're not gonna be able to zone you out, and you're still it's pretty much whoever's better at retribution. Whoever has better retribution skills will get the turtle. So that's why Baxia is in B tier. He's actually really good. I can actually make an analysis. My former team JNA really likes doing Baxia jungle, and they have a specific strat for it. So maybe I could do that in the next couple of videos. I'm not sure yet. Saber is gonna be in B tier. He falls off really hard late game, especially if the enemy jungler builds like brute force breastplate. Then Saber is pretty much like a one and done. One ulti and you're kind of done. Esmeralda is still pretty decent. Leomard, funnel, or let's just say jungler, is actually really good, especially if you pair him up with Angela. So since Angela is pretty popular lately, Leomard is actually pretty good right now. Alpha got buffed like how many times, and not a lot of people or teams are really noticing Alpha. I think he still lacks something. He still definitely lacks something. The cooldown on his ulti is like 9 seconds, like 7 seconds at least, at the most, 7 seconds at most. And you could knock up the enemy and you have high sustain. But the only thing about Alpha, I would say, is he falls off pretty hard late game. Changi jungle, that's also another specific strat that I've seen from Blacklist. They really like doing Changi jungle. Maybe I could do a video on that as well if you would like. So the two heroes that are very special here are Baxia and Changi jungle. It's not common, alright? These two heroes are not common in the jungler role. So if you guys are wondering, I've seen it in amateur tournaments and professional play. So if you have any questions about it, comment down below. Hellcurt jungle is going to be in B tier, I would say, especially since he doesn't have silence on his first skill anymore, unless he has ulti, right? He only has silence when he ultis. But you still silence the enemies when you get crowd controlled. Fanny's going to be in B tier. It's still really hard to kind of manage your energy, especially when the blue buff is gone for a good 15 seconds and the enemy team could time it whenever it's going to spawn. Karina is going to go to B tier. She's kind of like a last hit hero, really. Kill stealer hero, but she's just okay. She's good against Wan. Other than that, she's not really good against anybody else. Maybe Claude, since Claude is auto attack base. Gushin is just okay, B tier. Maybe in solo queue, Gushin is still good as jungler. And for C tier, we have all these guys that I don't even want to talk about because, yeah, they're not that good. So let's move on to the next tier list. Let me erase everything first. Let's move on to the support tier list. All right. So here we are with the S tier. We have Selena, Mathilda, Eve, and Natalia. All right. So Natalia usually buys roaming. Some of these supports will buy the roaming item. So it's not always the tank that's gonna buy the roaming item. Sometimes the support will also buy the roaming item. Like for example, Selena could buy a roaming item at level 2 because she technically has all her skills at level 2, right? Because you have your ulti with you have your first skill and your stun. So Selena's still gonna be an S tier, especially if you have a really good Selena. Mathilda is arguably the most broken support right now. The most broken support right now is Mathilda, and the most ban worthy. Eve is one of the few newer heroes, and she's actually really good. At first I thought that it's like a weekend Farsa, but if you really play Eve correctly, especially if you've skirmed against MPL teams that uses Eve and executes Eve really well, Eve is super strong and ban worthy. Of course, we have Natalia as a support. She's very annoying, and she's very hard to read, and she just causes distraction and havoc early game. But as soon as you get to late game, it gets really hard to play Natalia and assassinate with Nat, because people build tank items even if they're a jungler. So for A tier, we're gonna have Chang'e. Alright, she has a lot of wave clear. She pushes super fast, and so on. She can still buff really well. Loi's pretty good. Kagura is still good, A tier. Eudora has really good combo with Jawhead and other tanks like Sylvana, full burst. Farsa has good wave clear, mobility, and she also has decent amount of CC. Lunox has good burst. Like, each of these supports have their own weaknesses, and each of them have their own, strengths. Like for example, Kagura has mobility, good burst, but after her burst, she's kind of useless after that, right? You really need to hit your umbrellas if you want to keep Kagura useful. For Lunox, after dark form, you kind of need to run away and do light form. Angela's really decent right now and getting popular, especially if you watch Blacklist, which Venus really specializes in like utility supports like Rafaela, Estes, Angela. So yeah, Angela is really popular right now in MPL Indo and even in PH, honestly. Valir's still good for anti-invade. Hearth is really good when there's no CC on the other side of the team. Vale is good for against Claude, or he has really good knockup. As long as you're really good with your skill shots, Vale is actually still really good. Kadita is still pretty decent. Actually, Kadita was actually really close to going down to B tier. So but I put her still on A tier actually. So her burst is still really good, but after her ulti, she's kind of useless. So that's the problem with some of these supports, but their bursts are insane. So let's talk about B tier. We have Lilia, we have Rafaela, who's really like strategic heavy or strategy heavy type of hero. It really depends on how you execute these heroes at the end of the day, especially for the support and tanks. We have Harley support, Kaja support. Full burst is actually really good against heroes like Wan, Benedetta, Claude, who can cancel, who could cancel the Blazing Duet. Sylvana is pretty decent as a support, so she's gonna be in B tier. Sicilian is, a stack, reliable hero, so he's gonna stay in B tier. Zas is actually pretty insane, but he doesn't have a lot of mobility, and after Zas ulti, kind of useless, right? Cyclops has pretty good early game to late game, but the problem with him is he's really easy to kill and no mobility, barely any mobility. He has speed up on his second skill, but it's really just not enough. It's too straightforward. You're not gonna be able to dodge the enemy skill. too well because it's just extra movement speed. Estes, on the other hand, it, like I said earlier, it depends on how you execute it. If you guys are wondering why the hell is Benedetta here, you could literally play Benedetta in every single role. XP lane, gold lane, you can play Benedetta support, you can even play Benedetta tank and core, so Benedetta is actually still super broken. I don't know what Moonton needs to do to to not make Benedetta such a hero like that. For C tier, we have Odette, Aurora, Vexana, Nana, Gord, and Faramis. Some of these heroes were really close to getting to B tier, such as Aurora and Gord, actually, and Faramis. But I put him on C tier because it was getting full. So if you have any problems with that, again, before we continue, this is just disclaimer that this is my own opinion. I forgot to mention it earlier. This is my own opinion. So if you have a problem with it or if you disagree with it, that's fine. You can comment down below if you think this hero should be on a higher tier, and you could put your reason there. But please put it in a respectable manner so we don't fight and argue. But yeah, moving on to the EXP lane tier list. We have the Benedetta, of course, super annoying, high wave clear still, and high mobility. Especially if you build Benedetta with like brute force Athenas, all you need is bloodlust, and then you could build tank afterwards, and you're freaking set. You could pretty much cut the lanes super well. Esmeralda is actually viable in the gold lane and EXP lane, so she's gonna be here as well. S tier. Paquito is probably one of the most OP heroes in the game right now. Especially Paquito actually counters Benedetta and Claude, which are two of the most popular heroes in the game right now, and he has a lot of sustain and a lot of playmaking abilities with his knockup. He's also very flexible, kind of like a Benedetta. He could go XP lane, he could go tank, he could go gold lane as well. The only thing Paquito cannot do is support and core. That's it. So for A tier, Uranus is back at it again. So Uranus is actually going to go to A tier now. Used to be in B tier. Yuzhong is going to stay A tier. Lapo used to be S tier, but then he got nerfed like not too long ago. So he's going to go A tier. Khalid, Tamus, Baksha offlane is really good. Balmin is used to counter heroes like Esmeralda, Alice, and things like that, like high sustain heroes. So Balmin is actually back. We've been scrimming a bunch of MPL teams that use Balmin whenever we ban out all the side laners. Ruby's really good against Paquito, Benedetta, Chu, and things like that. Bane is really strong right now. The only reason why I put Bane on A tier is because this is EXP lane. I would say Bane is better in the gold lane. So gold lane, I actually have Bane in S tier, but we'll look at the gold lane later. So Chu is also very flexible. He could go tank, he could go EXP lane, he could go gold lane as well. But in most cases, you usually put Chu on the gold lane, especially when there's a Claude on the gold lane, or if there's like a 1-1 on the gold lane. You usually want to try to waste their purifies and things like that. X-Board counters 1-1 and counters Esmeralda because he has true damage. He's gonna stay in A tier. For B tier, we have Hilda, Bratz, Masha, Jawhead, Alpha, Gatot, Guinevere, Terisla, Freya, Belric, and Carmilla. Hopefully I don't have to, explain some of these guys. For C tier, we have Argus. Dyrus was actually a really close B tier, to be honest. We have Aldous, we have Martis, we have Badang, Leomar, Mincitar, and Sun. So hopefully this is understandable. Moving on to the next tier list. Again, this tier list is on the description below. It's going to be linked down below. We have the gold lane tier list. Alright, so there's a lot of S tier here because these are all like ban-worthy heroes. I didn't put Alice on the EXP lane because usually when you have a late game hero, you put that hero in the gold lane. You don't want to put that in the EXP lane because that hero needs itemization, right? So we have 1-1, still very OP, very strong. Her ult can actually crit now, even after the nerf. Benedetta could also go gold lane. Claude with Purify, very good. Esmeralda, Paquito, and Bane, like I said earlier, is going to be an S tier for gold lane, alright? And for A tier, we have Kagura here. Why? People might be asking, why is there Kagura here? Well, Kagura is mainly used to counter the 1-1 actually with range, and to waste the Purify with with second skill and dash away. So he's like she's a pure counter to 1-1. If you've never seen a side lane Kagura, you should watch MPL Indo. Beatrice pushes super hard in the side lane. Chu could go gold lane. Hayabusa also counters Claude and 1-1. So that's a really good pick to counter these really OP heroes. Angela gold lane is still viable, by the way. So if you haven't seen it, you could check it out. Search it up on YouTube. Lunox is there to counter the Esmeralda and Alice. Really high sustain heroes because Lunox has full burst. Farsa is there to counter heroes like Brody side lane, Wan side lane, and Claude side lane. So she's pretty much using her range to counter these types of heroes. But she's really bad against Benedetta since she moves super fast. Harith is really good against team compositions that don't have a lot of stun. So that's why people do gold lane Harith. Plus, he's a late game hero. So usually, the heroes that you want to put in the gold lane are late game heroes. All right. So Brody is still good against Esmeralda, especially against Alice, against high sustain. Really, Brody's still pretty viable even after the nerf. Yisun Shin gives you decent. Yisun Shin was actually a close B tier for me, but he's gonna stay in A tier. Changi side lane is also pretty decent because she pushes pretty darn fast and her wave clear is super fast. The only problem with Chang'e here is survivability when she gets ganked by like 4 freaking people. B tier we have Gushin, who's like an assassin for marksmen, so as long as you can land your combos, Gushin is actually pretty good. But if you cannot land your combos, then don't even bother playing Gushin. Bruno's gonna go B tier. Only one MPL team that I know uses Bruno side lane, gold lane actually, which is Blacklist. But I don't see any other team using Bruno in the gold lane. But he's actually really decent with on the gold lane. Zas is actually a close A tier for me, especially on the way on how you execute it. He pushes super fast, and his survivability is very good, especially with his ulti. When he gets ganked, he can just ulti again, and then hop out. And then hopefully he lives under the tower. And then Kimmy's gonna stay B tier. Popolin Koopa has a specific strat to it. Blacklist also likes doing the objective. Popolin Koopa marksman emblem, damage build with hard push, objective push. Clint is pretty decent after the revamp. Really strong late game. The problem is probably his mobility. Kari is a better jungler than gold lane. I would say Kari is a better jungler, so that's why she's gonna stay B tier. Leomard could also go gold lane, I would say, even though he's not completely a late game hero. Leomard could go gold lane, especially if you paired up with like an Angela or something. Mia has free purify, so B tier. Granger is B tier, better as a jungler. Granger is better as a jungler, so that's why I'm gonna put him B tier. Cyclops, you could actually play gold lane Cyclops because his poke is actually pretty darn strong, especially if someone's escorting you on your lane in the early stages of the game. Layla's, of course, C tier. Hopefully I don't have to explain these heroes. Lacking range and very squishy. Lacking mobility. Melee hero. Not enough AoE, lacking mobility, and Layla is just, yeah, you already know. Alright, so let's move on to the tank tier list. For S tier we have Paquito, Jawhead, Sylvana, and Diggy, and a lot of people might argue with me that Diggy should be in a lower tier, I would say, but a lot of teams right now are really pulling out, it's Diggy's like a poison, you know what I mean? You'll never know what the opposite team, or and especially in tournaments, you'll never know what the opposite team is gonna do. Are they gonna do a Diggy feed? Are they gonna do protect the core strategy? Are they gonna do fast objective strategy? There's just so many options for Diggy. That's why I'm gonna put Diggy in S tier, right? It's just so poisonous. Sylvana, on the other hand, is still gonna be sticking here in the S tier. Jawhead and Paquito. Chu is actually a really close S tier for me as a tank, but not a lot of MPL teams are picking Chu tank lately, so he's gonna go down to A tier with Atlas, Baksha, Kufra, Akai, Hilda, Tigreal, Popolin Koopa, Mathilda, and Kaja could tank as well. For B tier we have Gato, Johnson, Lolita, Franco. I know you guys have been seeing Franco, especially from Blacklist, and it really depends on you need to find your own identity as a team. So if you're an amateur team and you're watching this, don't just it's kind of bad to try and copy from from a team that has their own identity. And Blacklist, they don't really care about who's meta, who's not, right? They care about what's comfortable for them, and the way they use the hero really matters, right? That's why they're top 1 in PH right now. Minotaur is there to mainly to counter Claude for the knockup, to be honest. Khalid tank fell off super hard, it's gonna go down B tier. Belric is there to counter Claude, but not really that much, so he's gonna stay down B tier. Carmilla tank, Grok tank, Hylos tank, stay down in B tier. And for C tier we have Barats, Mincy, and Ruby. So, and that's it. Again, this tier list is gonna be on the link in the description, so click it down below. If you have any comments or feedback about the tier list, please comment down below respectfully, please. I don't want to fight with anyone. I don't want to fight with anyone, especially whenever I upload a tier list video. I always end up arguing with someone because I honestly don't know. They're just it just happens, right? Because it's just a tier list is just so controversial for people, and people like debating over it. So but yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to guys for you guys to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you guys enjoy this tier list, and for more videos like this in the future. All right, thank you guys for watching, and I am out. Peace.